Hi everyone. Well, first of all, I'm just going to lead my video response by saying that I'm experiencing technical difficulties with this video recording. You won't be able to see my face, unfortunately. However, I'm here vocally. I'll be responding to last week's video response for the group with Julia, Michael, Laura, and the professor. It was a group with 4 participants. And I'm going to get started. So we're looking at the first article, observational learning that leads to whether that leads to shift in preferences for children or not. The procedures that were used were paired preference assessment. Children were actually given the opportunity to identify the highest to lowest preferences with materials and even staff members, which I found pretty interesting. They were given the SD to put the bear in the cup of the staff member that they like. Also, later on, I believe high preferred adults were playing with low preferred items, making positive comments, and then vice versa, low preferred staff playing with highly preferred items, making negative comments, and they were modeling and contriving and using the materials in a fun way. And results indicated that one individual picked the highest preferred item, and the other didn't pick the lowest preferred item, and one had a shift in preference and the other did not. And the question that was asked by the professor was, would you guys like to implement these motivators? From my own experience, I work in a clinical setting, so it's very structured. It's highly conditioned, the environment's sanitized. We have schedules, so we have ITT or DTT, and then we transfer to NET. And we do a lot of intensive pairing. Most of our cases are not high functioning. So personally, these methodologies, I believe, would work in a setting like mine. The number one thing our supervisors stress on actually is pairing. Pairing is the first thing we do. It's building a healthy, positive instructional relationship between you and your client. So you let them take the lead, you build the trust, you are a giver and not a taker. I've seen a lot of cases where therapists are giving demands the first day and children come in the next day and the transition process is horrendous. They do not want to come in because this individual has become an SD, they have become a demand. And we do not want that. I personally believe that we are the number one reinforcers when it comes to a child. They are going to learn from us. So anything we touch or we play with or we model with, they are more inclined to approach or play with, which will lead to significant learning on their end. I also wanted to mention that I agree with Julia. Preferences and motivation is constantly changing. It's increasing and decreasing, increasing and decreasing. However, the person I found from my personal experience is that when it comes to the individual we are working with or the person teaching us, their teaching style and their approach says a lot. First impressions count. When you're fun, when you're giving, again, a child is going to put a pin on you. He's going to be more motivated to come in. He's going to remember you. And that helps, again, the teaching process run smoothly. The second article stressed on the books becoming preferred items for the students. So, hang on. The question for this article was, what's an example of a reinforcer that you have seen used that has a drawback to being well used? Julia mentioned, I believe it's Julia, food. And I'm so glad she brought that up because she mentioned socioeconomic status. For example, some families may not be able to afford a child's preferred item, and if he sees another children having that item in class, another child having that item in class, it's going to demotivate him. I have personally experienced this, and I agree that food can sometimes be quite intricate. For example, I worked with a case who had a lot of allergies. He was on a gluten-free diet, he was on a low sugar diet, and he used to see his peers being reinforced with Oreos and M&Ms and chocolate, and to him, it was demotivating because he was thinking to himself, well, I'm responding, but I'm not gaining access to a highly preferred item. I'm here having cucumbers and bread. And that led to a lot of bootleg reinforcement. So during transition, or if he doesn't respond, he'll just get up, interrupt the session, and run to grab his peers' reinforcers. So I would agree with Julia that food could be quite intricate, which is why I prefer more materials on the table, like spin tops, Play-Doh, cars, and then using them more naturalistically in the environment when it's time for a net. The third article, let me just review this real quick. Oh, this is the one with the peers. So if a peer model a toy, will it become reinforcing for a child? And the question was, would you use these procedures to teach skills? Again, I work in a very structured environment, and we deal with a lot of children who are lower on the spectrum. They don't have the prerequisite skills, and it was Michael that brought this point up, and I agreed with, because I have experienced this. So you want to make sure that your client has the prerequisite skills needed. A lot of the clients I work with have very poor imitation skills, social skills, visual tracking skills. So this is definitely something I would not target in my environment. Now, if my client had mastered these skills, modeling, requesting, he functionally communicates, he makes eye contact, he indicates that he wants to physically access something, I would be more inclined to implement these methodologies. However, we want to make sure that they have the joint attention and that the learning process is motivating for them. If they don't have the skills, we wouldn't want to push them any further in a task which is very demanding. It just becomes demotivating, and it becomes a demand, and you become a demand, which will lead to intensive repairing. So that is that, and I once again apologize I couldn't make it to the online discussion, and hopefully I can make it the next round.